Welcome back to another Empowerment Project podcast. So today with me, I've brought in my uncle, Mark. Now, thank you for joining me, Thomas.
Good.
You,
Good to be here.
you may hear me say Thomas a few times in this, and we'll sort of explain where that's come from in a little moment. But we're both Thomas.
We are Thomas and Thomas.
Indeed. And yeah, I mean, this is the guy who got me into these crazy triathlons and all that type of stuff. So I blame him for that. But yeah, I wanted to come in and talk a little bit about your journey with your fitness over the last, what would it be, 15, 20 years?
Yeah, so my first, I was 30 years old. I'm now 49.
There we go. So almost 20 years.
Almost 20 years ago.
Because it's a total transformation, to say the least.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, yours was not, obviously you were like overweight and unhealthy, but I'm guessing that wasn't really your primary aim for doing it. It was more like your mental health,
Yeah.
but in turn your physical health sort of followed with it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I was overweight. I smoked, drank too much. Sport at school was a no-no. Hated it. Didn't want to get involved. And I suppose really what changed it, I think I gave up smoking, started to gain weight because obviously I was suppressing my appetite by smoking. And then it was like, I need to make a change because things are getting a little bit serious now and I'm getting older and I'm getting bigger. So
when was the first time you actually got into doing anything then? Obviously, so in your like teenage years at school, you didn't do anything. When was the first time you ever like even dipped into any type of sport?
2004. So I was like, I need to do something. So I signed up for the London Marathon.
How old was you?
So I would have been, at that time, I signed up for it. I would have been 30. No, I was 29.
Yeah.
And then I did it when I was 30.
And you never trained before?
No, never trained. Longest run was on a treadmill, 8 miles. First set of trainers came from Sports Direct, Carrymore, which is just like in the running world now is, yeah.
Horrendous.
Horrendous, yeah. You wouldn't go Sports Direct and buy a set of Carrymore and then go run a marathon.
Well, yeah, but you wouldn't even just do 8 miles on a treadmill and run one either.
No, I did 8 miles on a treadmill. Pretty shit time, to be honest. 2004, got divorced or started getting divorced, lost contact with my kids. And yeah, got to 2005, the last of the Flora London Marathons it was. And I can remember rocking up at the start line, absolutely bricking it with these shoes on that felt really comfy at the start. And then, which I didn't know at the time, that your feet swell as you run. And it was pretty horrendous. Yeah, 5.5 hours later, I rocked over the finish line.
And not many toenails left either, I imagine.
I lost all my toenails.
Oh, Jesus.
Had big plums, big blood blisters. Yeah, it was horrendous.
So, I mean, at the time, obviously, there was a total out of the blue move, right? Because there's something you haven't done. Like, obviously, you left school. After school, there was a good 15 years where you didn't really do anything.
I did nothing.
What made you want to do that?
What, the run?
Yeah.
I wanted to challenge myself. So I thought, well, never run a 5K, never run a 10K, never done a park run, didn't do anything. So I literally just said, right, I'm going to do Flora London Marathon. And I did it for charity, actually. So I did it for children in need. No, I didn't. I did it for children with leukemia. Yeah. So I did it for charity. And it was more about challenging me. I think just through that time, that phase of my life, I was pretty low. And I needed to do something to try and spur me on. And it's certainly done that.
So even if you put yourself in a place of discomfort while doing that, obviously, like, I mean, for most people, I wouldn't recommend running a marathon in crap shoes and not training. And obviously it was quite a lot of discomfort. But how did, like, can you sort of think about when you did that, how it made you feel? And then what did you like do in the months sort of after that? Did you continue to follow it, or like what happened?
So yeah, I did the London Marathon, and then I had this massive dream. So when I was training for the London Marathon on the treadmill, I used to put YouTube on, and I would watch the Ironman World Championships in Kona, and used to see these swimmers and these athletes that were doing like 2.4 mile swims, 112 mile bike ride, and then doing a marathon at the end. And I used to think, wow, I'm just going to tackle a marathon at the moment, but I'd love to do that, but I can't swim. And I haven't ridden a bike for 20 years. So after that, I sort of recovered. And then a customer of mine, actually, Phil Sanger, who's now a really good mate, I started talking to him about it. And he was like, yeah, I do triathlon. I was like, really? He said, yeah, I've done a half Ironman, done loads of sprint stuff. So I said, well, I'm really interested. I said, but I can't swim. He said, oh, you'll be fine. He said, I'll lend you my bike. So he gave me his bike to borrow, his road bike. And I can remember looking down and going, where's the gear levers on the cross frame? And he was like, no, they're on the brakes. They're like paddle shifters. I was like, really? And he was like, yeah. I said, I didn't even know that was a thing. So he lent me his bike. I remember going for a little ride from my place up to Hell's Mouth, which was probably about 2.5, 3 miles away. Come back, coughing to death, absolutely wiped out, and just pursued it from there, really. And then the next thing, he signed me up for a sprint triathlon in Bodmin. I was probably about 90-ish kilos, I suppose, at that time.
Right, so giving people, because obviously weight varies. Give people an idea now what you're like, 75.
Yeah, I'm 75.
It's like 2.5 stone.
76 kilo now.
Yeah, so 2.5 stone heavier than you are now.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're a lot bigger, right?
Yeah, a lot bigger. I jumped in the pool and done a couple of swim sessions, which were, I sort of resembled a drowning seal, I think. And he signed me up for this triathlon, and I can remember it took me 16 minutes to do 16 lengths of the pool, which is 400 meters.
Yeah, and I mean, for anybody that's even into this, or maybe not into this, that doesn't really know, I mean, we're quite slow swimmers, both of us, and we could do that, at least 2 or 3 times quicker than that now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was very slow, right?
Yeah, really slow. Yeah, I was getting to each end and I would have to take a load of breathers and then come back again. I was probably one of the last people out the pool, and then got on the bike. Managed to do the bike. I was always pretty strong on the bike. Don't know how. And then I got on the run and managed to scrape through that as well. And that was it for me.
But obviously at the time of doing that, if you were overweight, unfit, you were an ex-smoker, and obviously quite like stressed or everything else that was going on, doing that must have been like pretty uncomfortable. It can't have necessarily been enjoyable.
No.
Was you still quite inspired to still do this Ironman at some point, even after doing that?
Yeah, that was what speared me on then.
It was.
It was like, I want to get fitter. I was asthmatic as well. So yeah, I just wanted to get fitter, and I thought I've got to do this.
So you sort of internally enjoyed the challenge of like, okay, if I've done this, what's next? Just keep slowly chipping away.
Yeah, I did a couple of seasons of the Cornwall series of triathlons, just the sprint ones. I wasn't fast by no means. I was never at the front of the pack, but it wasn't about that. It was about me and my mental health, and me basically having a goal to train for each week, knowing, I've got a race on the weekend.
So how long do you think it took from obviously doing all these things? And it's not like, I'm guessing it's not like you had a distraction, but in some respects it is. That's what fitness is for quite a lot of people initially. I mean, the whole London Marathon thing, I'm guessing, was almost a distraction from everything that was going on at the time. It was,
yeah, it was a big distraction. Yeah.
How long did it take you to see like a big change in your mental health? Like obviously when you're in your late 20s, when you didn't feel great, and you then started getting into all this fitness, can you sort of think of a time when you start to feel like, I feel pretty good now?
Started bouncing, after I'd done London and then did like a few of the sprint triathlons, I started to feel like this was what I wanted to do. Yeah, I felt really good. Every time I did it, every time I trained for one, I could feel myself dip when I wasn't training. And if I had to cancel an event because of work commitments, or like, going eventually seeing the kids. So I'd feel a dip in myself then. And then it was like, I need to take something on bigger. Sprint triathlons just weren't cutting the mustard anymore. It was just like, I was getting a bit bored with them. I think because I did the London Marathon to start with, rather than starting off with halves and starting off with 10Ks, like a lot of people do, I just felt like long distance made me feel better after I'd finished it. So that's what, then I was like, right, I need to do something bigger than a sprint triathlon. I need something I can grind it out for half a day or a day, and then I'll feel better. So then it was signing up for Challenge UK Weymouth Half Ironman was the next challenge.
The one that I just did.
The one you just did. Yeah. So that would have been in 2013, was it? I believe.
I think it was like 10 years ago, you said, yeah.
Yeah, about 10 years ago. Signed up for it. My mate Phil, he signed up for it as well. So we trained together, and we both trained really hard for it. And my fitness level went through the roof.
I mean, that's when you obviously lost a lot of weight, right?
Yeah.
And you were just so dedicated to fitness by then as well, because you were a good, like 3 or 4 years into this journey by then, maybe?
Yeah.
At least?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we trained really hard. He helped me with my swimming. I never had no swim coach back then. He was my swim coach. He was my swim coach, my run coach, my bike coach. We did all our sessions together, everything we did together.
A bit like you've been with me for this. Every time I'm like, what am I doing? You're like, buy this, do that. And it's like the beginning of this, your story really relates to mine, because I was like, I'm guessing after doing the photo shoot last year and been into like the gym and fitness now for years, I was just like, as much as I enjoy all this, it's no longer become a challenge, because I didn't want to like go through the process of getting bigger or getting leaner again or anything. So I was like, I need something different. And I always seen you doing these things, and I was like, similar to you watching the YouTube, I always used to watch you finish off like an event, because I used to track you doing them. And like, these just seem absolutely bonkers, because in my head I was like, I could only run like 10k. And I was thinking, how the hell is he doing all this, then a marathon? I was like, that's just mad. So signing up for it this year has been like a great challenge, and I want to do the full next year. And I think it's good. It just like gives you a bit of sense of purpose. Yeah. It gives you like a training program, and really it's like a massive amount of delayed gratification, right? Yeah, definitely. Because like, you know that like you've got to do something for at least 6 to 12 months as a minimum before you can even get potentially close to completing a full Ironman, realistically. Yeah. Even if you're pretty damn fit, you know, in 1 month, in the first month, I should say, it's still going to take you a long time to get conditioned for that event. I mean, how long do you normally spend training to actually complete like a full Ironman when you've done them before?
Man.
Yeah.
So normally it would be 6 days a week training. Some days you do double sessions. So up early in the morning, either do a run or a swim. In the evening, then you'd be doing a bike or a run or a swim. So I would have to adapt it depending on what my work day. Yeah,
let's talk about that. So for anybody that doesn't know, is like, this isn't, Mark also has a job. Well, I mean, training for a full Ironman is almost like a job in itself, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And you're running 2 businesses and semi-running a third. So in got 3 on the go, and you've got 5 kids. So how the hell do you make the time for this as well?
It's really hard. Got to have a good partner behind you who supports you, which I've got. You've got to have, everyone's got to be understanding. And I think like the kids really enjoy watching me do it. It's hard. It's really hard. There's mornings when you wake up and it's like 4:30 in the morning and it's chucking it down with rain, blowing a hoolie. And you think, right, I've got to go out and run now for an hour before I go and do a day's work. That's a challenge on its own.
But do you think that like level of discipline that you've built up towards your training over the years has now helped you with some of the things that you've had to deal with in business?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, everything that I do regarding my running, my biking, everything can definitely makes you more headstrong to tackle things in everyday life. You know, just dealing with people in general now can be really hard work. You know, dealing with customers can be challenging. Running a business is challenging full stop, as you know. So it makes you mentally stronger because you think, well, if I can do that, I can do this.
Obviously, you've got quite a lot of employees, and there's different segments of the business with what you do.
Yeah.
And obviously, there was, you know, more people, as they always say, more problems. So it's like you can be, I guess, more resilient and less reactive sometimes with them types of situations.
Yeah, I've definitely got more chilled, as I don't know if that's come with age.
Maybe.
Yeah. I am a hothead, definitely fiery at times, but I'm definitely more laid back in the sense I can let things go over my head now. I don't take things too personally. Used to take things really personally. Still can with some aspects, but most of the time I just let it go over my head. By the time I go home at night, I've left it at work. I think the trouble is you end up wanting to challenge yourself even more. So you want to do, you know, like we said, you do a half, you've done a half. I've done a couple of full Ironmans now. I've done some ultras.
I was about to say, you've done like what, some 60-mile runs, which is like 100 kilometers.
Done a couple of ultras, so 44 mile.
You tried the 100-mile one, didn't you?
I tried the 100 mile, got to 72 miles of that.
I believe that. Yeah, you were hanging, weren't you?
Yeah, I was absolutely hanging. I kept going for 24 hours non-stop.
Of running on the coast path.
On the coast path, yeah, walking, running, crawling, and that was really tough as well because that's a winter event. And that is really, really hard. That's the Arc, which is done by Mud Crew down in Cornwall. And that's really, that's sort of the one that challenges a lot of people. And not many people finish that one in the second or third go.
You said the drop-off rate's like what, 60, 70%, did you say?
Massive. Yeah, it's a big drop-off rate on it.
Huge.
Especially if the weather's really bad.
And this is for people that are already like ridiculously fit as well, right?
Yeah, this is for people that are into the big ultras. especially on the coast path as well. That's really tough, especially our Cornish coast path. But I think the triathlon, the ultras is sort of, I think really is my place, my comfort zone. My partner Sarah does ultras as well. So we both like going off and exploring, and I think I've got to a level now where competing isn't so much important. It's more about getting out and enjoying what you do. I used to put a lot of pressure on myself with events, thinking, I've got to train. Where at the moment, I'm just taking a back seat. I'm going to do a half Ironman next year in Wales, but for a minute, it's more about me and what I want to do, rather than I've got to train for this to do that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm guessing the reason why you started all of this stuff was because, like, if your mental health wasn't in a great place, you wanted to feel better, you wanted to have some things to focus on. Then maybe after a while, it's then comes to the point where you're getting overly competitive with it. Yeah. And then I'm guessing it removes the reason why you started doing it to begin with, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So you want to bring that back.
You do. You end up losing yourself a bit. So the whole start of it is so that you've got something to sort of challenge yourself against. It's something to do. So I think the training leading up to event is more enjoyable sometimes than the actual event, because you train for 6 months to do an Ironman or a half Ironman, all for one day, which is quite bonkers, really. But that's the bit that drives you every single day. Is almost like the cherry. That's the cherry.
It is. It's about enjoying the journey. It really is. And I say this to even clients that even do, like, tomorrow we've got a photo shoot. I mean, Sarah, your partner's doing it in the program. She's actually in the shoot tomorrow. And it's like sometimes the 6 months leading up to what is just like 2 hours of photos is actually the part that you really want to sort of savor and enjoy.
Yeah.
Because you learn a lot through that process. You build a lot of resilience. You build, you take yourself out your comfort zone a little bit. But also, like, having them dates in mind is a great thing, because it gives you a reason to, like, do it. And I'm guessing when you first started, you would have probably been a lot less consistent if you didn't have all these events in the diary. But because you had them in the diary, it made you, like, push to train more regularly, I suppose.
Yeah,
where,
definitely.
Like, 19 years in, for you to now go out and run is just like, it's just like waking up and brushing your teeth. You just do it, right? Yeah, but when you first started, you wouldn't have done that.
No, definitely not. If there wasn't something at the end of it, I would definitely never got up and done what I do. It's like this week, I've had a real tough week at work, and I've done no training at all for the entire week. Not even been to the gym. I used to beat myself up over that continually. That was like I was smashing my head against a brick wall. Actually, it'd be less painless to smash my head against a brick wall, because thinking I've missed out on training. Where now it's like, actually, I don't mind if I go and have a couple of pints tonight with you. It's like that used to be a major thing for me, but now it's not. Yeah, but
you're in it for the long game now.
Yeah,
like, after
absolutely.
doing it for so long, it's like, obviously in the short term, it's just like anything. You expect big changes, and you feel like you're letting yourself down if you just, like, even have 1 week off of plan or whatever, you know. But if you're in it for the long run, then it's in the grand scheme of things, a week or two or even a few months here or there doesn't make a difference, right?
No, I think it's really, really important that if you're not training for something and you're off season type of thing, tick over with your training. But if you're feeling a bit low and you feel a bit crap, maybe you've got a bit of a cold on the way or something like that, or you just generally run down, don't beat yourself up over it.
Listen to your body sometimes.
Listen to what your body's telling you and take that time out. Don't read all these articles that you read about, base it all on heart rate, or if your heart rate's this. Just do it on how you feel.
Oh, it's different for everybody, isn't it? This is the thing. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
I even notice this when I go out for a run sometimes, like, depending on the weather or how I slept last night. Like, sometimes, like, if it's, like, quite cold, I notice that my heart rate's really high the first couple kilometers. Then suddenly it drops and I get in my comfort zone.
Yeah.
So it's just different for everybody, isn't it? You've got to go based off how you feel sometimes. You can't get too bogged down with the data and the watches. We use a lot of this stuff with clients. It's great. It holds them accountable. But sometimes you just got to take it with a pinch of salt as well.
Yeah.
So as a whole then, over, like, the last 19 years, I mean, in comparison to where you were in your 20s, that 10-year gap between school and late 20s, how has training impacted your life?
Oh, it's impacted me in a real big way. It's like, I can't, even though I say I have time out, I can't imagine someone taking it away from me completely. I need it. I definitely got to have it in my life. I need those people around me as well. So the people I've attracted in my life are all connected with it, if you like. And you normally find that the people are very positive. They're good to talk to. You go out on the trails and you run some of the trail events, and you will see every walk of life, every person and every walk of life you see from every culture, and everyone's got a story to tell when you're out on that coast path and you're running or you're doing a big event. You normally find if you do a triathlon, not many people speak to each other, or if you're doing a road running event.
It's interesting you say that. It was really weird the other day. There was obviously my first time racing in the triathlon. Like I've never done that before, anything like that before. And we were going down, we were all cranking up one of these hills in Weymouth, and there was loads of us there, a few hundred. But I just look around and it's silent.
Yeah.
All I can hear is all the bikes ticking away.
Yeah.
And it was really weird. I was like, I've never been, because even when I'm training, like when I'm out training with you or anybody, obviously we're training, but we're still chatting along the way.
Yeah.
And there's only me and you. And in my head, it sounds like there's loads of noise.
Yeah.
But it was obviously, there was no cars. There was just people racing and no one was saying anything to each other because they're all concentrating.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, it's mad. I couldn't believe it. It's just a really weird feeling being around so many people and it's just silent.
I think a lot of that, the difference between road racing, triathlon racing, that sort of high speed, you know, that sort of everyone's going balls to the wall, is that everyone is fully focused on what they're doing. But not only that, everyone is running at or training at, you know, cycling at a really good pace. So nobody's got, like, they haven't got that conversation breath in them, if you like. When you do the coast stuff, you know, you're walking up hills. You're not like, you're not putting the same effort. You're still putting the same effort in, but it's not like running on the road. Yeah. So people talk and you chat to each other, and you'll get to learn about that one person, their whole life, in about 20 or 30 minutes of doing part of that ultra run. Yeah. And it's just mad. And then you'll go along and, like, you might not see no one for 2 hours, and then all of a sudden you'll come across another group of people or one person, and the conversation kicks off again. And I really enjoy that. I like listening to people and speaking to them. And I think for me, that's probably the biggest part of the whole journey, is where it's brought me to now, is that I enjoy that. I like that long distance stuff. You know, if I definitely want to do a 100-miler, and I would like to do more.
I know you want to take off because you're like me. If you don't feel like you fully accomplished something, you're going to go back and make sure you get it done.
Have another crack.
Yeah, and it's a bit like me on the weekend with that, you know, the half Ironman or whatever. Pavla said the same thing, the exact same thing to you before I even started, right? Because obviously the swim got called off. It was totally out of our hands. I mean, there's thunder and lightning and the waves were like almost head height. So I was still sort of excited to go in. I was a bit nervous, but I was like, I just want to get this done now. Yeah. I was like sort of buzzing to get in the water. I think some people were really shitting a brick because it wasn't the best conditions at all. No. But I was thinking, even if it's not like, you know, even if it was a bit messy, I'll just go slow and get it done. Yeah. And then obviously they called it off. And in my head straight away, I'm like, it's not a triathlon now, it's a biathlon. So I feel like I've cheated. So straight away, you know, Pavla said to you, he's going to want to do another one. And yeah, and the way back in the car, I was like looking like, right, what can I book?
And that's it. You get the bug.
Yeah, for sure.
You'll be doing it because you're now on the start of your journey of that.
Yeah. And I'm enjoying it. It's good. It's giving me something different. And it's also like, it's interesting doing like the weights as well as the cardio. I've always just been really weight heavy. I've done a bit of cardio stuff. Like I've gone for the odd run with you and stuff in the past, but I've never been like really dedicated to it. No. And I will always weight train. But there are periods where it's not like I get bored of it, but I just don't have the same level of interest to like with it as compared to when I was maybe in my teens. Yeah. Because when I was a teenager, I was just like skinny and not happy with being skinny. And I was like, right, I'm also short. So I was like, I just want to get really big. And I had like this obsession with it, you know, and everything that was the focus for a long time. But now it's like, there's not really a focus. I just do it because it's almost like running for you. It's just become something like brushing my teeth. It's like, I just go to the gym 4 or 5 days a week. It's just something I do. Yeah. But it's nice to have this other thing now that does seem challenging. Yeah. It's a bit like, you know, I'm guessing even if you love your running, you know, running 100 miles is no joke. So that's still a challenge. Yeah. So that's probably why you've moved on to the ultras, because you still need that challenge.
I do. Yeah. And I really enjoy them. Yeah. And I think the other thing is it's training for the Ironman stuff, as you know, is really, really, it's dedication of time. Yeah. And, you know, your time is taking up so much.
I think everybody feels that. Like everybody does. Because like I have way less commitments than you. Obviously, I've got my business to run, but that's really it. Don't have to worry about so much else. You've got a few businesses to run, kids, you know, parents to look after and everything else to go with it. And even some guy that like when we were at the event was like he turned around and had said to me, he's like, this is my last one, pal. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, I've been doing them for 6 years. You could see he was fit as hell. And he was telling me some of his times. I was like, man, you're incredible at this. Like, why are you stopping? And he was like, oh, the wife said I've got to stop. You know, and it's like, it's because the thing is just so time consuming. Yeah. You're right, you know, like if you're doing the swim's not so bad. Obviously the run takes a bit of time, but like then you do the bike, that takes a long, long time. Yeah. And then you combine that all together. You're basically trying to get really damn good at 3 things, not just one thing. Yeah. And it does. It takes up a lot. As enjoyable as it is, it's almost a bit of a selfish sport sometimes as well.
It is.
Do you know what I mean?
You've got to be really, really selfish which I read a lot on, actually, especially the pros.
Oh, you got to be.
Where they literally, if anyone rings them after a certain time, well, they're normally their phone is off. But if anyone does happen to catch them after a certain time, they're basically told where to go.
It's a level of obsession. There's the only way you get that good.
Yeah,
it has to be. So they're the bits you obviously love. You love, the big distances and the running and, the speaking with people and finding more out about their backstory. What are some of the bits you found challenging? Because there's always parts of your health and fitness journey you may not necessarily like sometimes. There's been parts that I've not necessarily enjoyed. Yeah, I was about to literally say that myself. But yeah, what are some of the things you maybe found challenging or not necessarily liked at points over the last 19 years?
Yeah, it's the swimming.
Yeah.
For definite. The swimming has been the biggest and hardest challenge of all for me.
And what's helped you just go, you know what? I don't like this. I'm not good at it, but let's just get it done.
Doing an Ironman.
Just booking something in.
Yeah, just to be able to book. Because if I can't swim, it's pointless me taking on 2.4 mile swim and having to do it in less than 2 hours. Yeah. Because I'm just not. I know I'm going to be out before I even started.
Yeah, I was going to say, because you flew obviously out to Lanzarote to do this, right?
Yeah, Lanzarote in 2018, and I did Lanzarote this year.
Yes, there's no point flying to a different country, paying all that money, and then knowing you can't even finish the first part of the race off, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Then also, what else did you do to make sure that you got better at swimming?
So I got a swim coach, which has been one of the best things I've done. I've had several swim coaches over the years. And they've never really ticked the right boxes, apart from my last one, who Phil put me on to. And we did sessions together. So there was like 4 of us in the pool once a week, and he would get us to do drills. And the way he taught was just, it just worked for me. Where the way that other people have sort of been teaching me hasn't quite ticked the boxes, where this guy ticked the boxes. So I'll definitely use him again for next year's stuff. So
you'd say for that, like the accountability of obviously making sure that, you didn't want to let him down, turn up and get your swims in. Obviously, you fast tracking your technique rather than winging it. And
20 minutes off the swim this year on the Ironman compared to when I did it in 2018.
And that would have come down to obviously him helping you improve your technique and things like this.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's the reason why a lot of people will get a coach for anything. And I'm guessing it's why me and Pavla are there from a lot of people from a nutrition standpoint. And I like helping people out with some performance-based stuff as well now. And even sometimes when people know what to do, it's like you had a good idea of what to do. You've already competed in loads of triathlons, but you're just like, screw it. I want someone to make this easier and faster for me. Yeah. And I also want accountability when, you got that appointment in your diary where you can't be bothered to swim after work. You sort of know you need to be up there and get in the pool.
Yeah.
I got a swim coach. I literally did the same thing. I was like, I got a rough idea of what to do here. You told me what I needed to do. But it's like, if I just pay someone to like help me with this, I'm just way more accountable.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
You have the extra level of commitment towards it. And yeah, it took a while. I mean, it took me at least 3 or 4 months to even start floating. Before that, I was just like a brick in the water. But like once you get it, it actually becomes a bit more enjoyable, right? Would you say? Like
it does. I still don't overly enjoy swimming, but I enjoy it more than I used to. Yeah. I think the thing is with swimming, it's like there is technique to running and there's technique to bike, but everyone pretty much can ride a bike, and you can get yourself bike fit and you can get yourself run fit. And there is still technique to it. Don't get me wrong. There's still coaches out there that do all of that. But the swimming is you have to be completely relaxed. And that's the hardest part, is being relaxed in the water. I think that's what makes swimming so challenging if you're not come from a swimming background.
Oh, no. Yeah, I 100% agree. I mean, I used to totally resent it. Every session I have to get myself like psyched up, get some good music in, like get the caffeine. I had like this pre-swim ritual that I was doing just to get myself in the zone. Yeah. There's nothing I feel like, I'm quite lucky that I don't really ever feel overly demotivated about something. If it's like anything, I'll just give it my best shot. But with swimming, I was just like, do I have to do this? Hated it. But like now I actually like the same as you. I don't love it. Like I love running. It makes me feel great. If anything, that's my version of like downtime. I go out and just helps your mind switch off.
Yeah, definitely.
But with the swim, it doesn't have the same effect. But I don't hate it anymore. I think that's like anything. As you start to get better at something, you maybe build a bit more enjoyment up towards it.
Yeah, we tend to turn away from the things that we find hardest to do, and we focus on our things that we're strong at. And really, we need to probably tick over on the things that we're strong at and really push
the things we're not so good
at.
Things
we're not so good at.
Yeah, because I actually feel great that I can now swim. I feel like that's a good skill to have. And it's like there is a sense of fulfillment if I think about, okay, you know what, the last 6 months, even if I've spent 6 months learning to try and bloody swim, and then on the day they cancel the swim, I wasn't annoyed in the slightest, because I was like, you know what, it actually forced me to learn how to swim.
Yeah.
Prior to that, I could do 25 meters, so one length of a pool, and I was like, I thought I was going to die. But like now, you can swim a couple miles. It's quite a nice feeling.
Yeah, it's good. It is good. And I think, like, I live in Cornwall, and you was from Cornwall.
And we couldn't swim.
Which is ridiculous, isn't it? We should have...
Yeah, I used to surf my entire life, because you're on a board, you do the odd bit of paddling. And don't get me wrong, I could swim, but anything more than swimming for about literally 1 or 2 minutes, I'm out of breath. And you were the same, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I did a bit of surfing, did some windsurfing, sailed with my dad.
But you couldn't actually swim properly.
I couldn't probably swim properly.
Yeah, same. Which sounds crazy, really.
Yeah. Living in Cornwall, I think that if you're young, get in the pool and get lessons now while you're young, definitely.
Oh, the people that are the best that we see out there, the people that have just naturally like done it from a young age, right?
The best swimmers, people I know, like Neil Eddy from Cornwall, awesome triathlete.
Fly through the water.
He flies. Yeah, he's got a bow wave coming off the front of his head. He's so quick in the water, come from a swimming background, but also now he's good on the bike and he's good on the run.
Yeah, I feel like them two things you can sort of learn more over time just through like being consistently dedicated to them. The swimming's really all purely technique based.
Yeah, it is. And the thing is with the running, you can literally put a pair of trainers on, stick your shorts on, and step out your front door, and you can go for a 45-minute run and have a really good session. Swimming takes a little bit. You've got to get up, you've got to get all your gear ready, you've got to go to a pool, you've got to get in it, and you've got to grind it out up and down, and it just doesn't have the same ring to it.
Of course, no, it doesn't. No, it definitely doesn't. So obviously for you didn't really do anything from school to 30, so there was a good 14 years of nothing.
Yeah.
And then next minute you're taking on a marathon, which is bonkers. Like I said, I wouldn't recommend that to anybody. But you take that on, which is impressive, and then you then get into some just like sprint triathlons, which for anybody who's unsure what they are, just a lot shorter distances.
Yeah, a lot short distance, done and dusted in like an hour and a half, 2 hours.
And then obviously over the last few years you've built it up, and if anything now probably moving into what would have been your late 30s, early 40s, and even now into your mid and late 40s is probably like the fittest you've been.
Yeah, I'm probably, my body weight now would have been like it was when I did my 2018 Ironman. So that was probably the lowest body weight I would have got to, is what I am now. So, and I'm not even doing very much training at the moment since I did Lanzarote.
Well, obviously recently you've been focusing more on your nutrition, which has helped with that.
Yeah, which has come from you and Pav, obviously.
Yeah, but as a whole, I mean, your level of fitness is definitely towards the higher level now. Even compared to in your late 20s, you're way fitter than you are. Like now you're way fitter compared to them.
My eating habits and everything have changed. Everything that I do, I'm like cautious about everything that I eat. Snacking in between meals and stuff like that, and some of the like sugary drinks, and which I've got on the floor actually. But no, I just they are now more of a treat rather than something I've got to have one every day.
That was, I'm guessing, before maybe in your early 20s, would you say, or late 20s, more of like a fix to de-stress or comfort,
definitely,
rather than probably what now is training as your comfort or de-stress.
Well, it's like you drink. Like you'll have a drink at night, you'll go home, you think you're going to de-stress yourself. Oh, I'm going to have a few glasses of wine. You have a few glasses of wine. Then what comes? Then you eat crisps.
Yeah.
The junk food comes along with it because it just naturally does. So before you know it, you get away with it in your 20s. You can sort of burn it off.
You didn't?
No, not until, I started to get like 18, 19. I could pretty much eat and do whatever I wanted.
Yeah, most people can though, right? Yeah.
And get away with it. Then you start getting close to 30 and it's like, all of a sudden you wake up one day and look in the mirror and it's like, holy shit, what happened? And then some people will carry on like that and take no notice of it and won't discipline themselves to go, I've actually got to do something about this. It's all very well training. I can remember a time where I was like training 6-7 days a week, swimming, biking, running, and I would drink every night. I would eat crisps every night. I would eat all the junk in between. And I literally maintained at around 85 kilo.
Oh, you wouldn't lose any weight, yeah.
Didn't lose any weight and I wouldn't gain any. So I was basically, and I was trying to lose weight, but wasn't taking it on board, that wasn't being true to myself and being honest. Look, it's the stuff you're eating and the alcohol you're consuming.
I say this to clients all the time that say, look, I do, but I'm spending a couple hours in the week doing cardio, or I'm spending a couple hours a week doing workouts. I'm like, it just doesn't work the same way. Like, don't be wrong, you are expending more calories, but you don't want to be looking at it for that reason. It's like you do your swim, your bike, your run, or your weights or whatever for your physical or mental health. You don't do that to burn calories.
No.
Right? Your things that you do outside the gym, like your nutrition, is to obviously fuel your body better, to have, you know, better health and energy, but that's more going to be either weight loss or weight maintenance focused.
Yeah.
And it's interesting you say that, because even recently, like, I've been focusing on my nutrition purely from a performance point of view. And I've not put on a load of weight, but I put on, you know, a few kilos because I've just been trying to optimize for this Ironman. And I've been doing like swim, bike, and, you know, it's like almost every other day I'm doing something.
Yeah.
And my weight's still gone up. And I've not been eating crap. I've been eating good food. So it just goes to show, like, even if you're extremely active, if you're not accountable with how much you're eating, it just makes no difference.
It's just a waste of time. Yeah. And you think that, I can remember going for runs with Phil in the mornings. So every Saturday morning, me and him would get up, 5 o'clock, he'd pick me up. We'd go for a run around Tiddy Woods. We had roughly a 5.2 mile loop that we would do every Saturday morning. And that would be summer, winter, head torches on. And I can remember quite often running with him and he'd go, flipping out, you absolutely reek of booze. So I'd basically be going with him at 5 o'clock in the morning, stinking of drink with a hangover. And I was literally maintaining. So then the running would make me feel pretty good. You know, I'd feel like crap when I got up. But it was just a whole vicious circle all the time. I'd feel great. I'd been for a run. Then I would have a busy time at work, go home, crack a bottle of wine open, think it's going to chill me out. But of course, then comes the junk food. And it just ends up, you don't actually, in the long term, you don't feel great. Yeah. You don't realise how shit you feel until you go, right, I've got to be honest with myself now. I need to sort my nutrition out and I need to stop drinking like I am. Now I can take drink or leave it. If I fancy a beer in the week, I actually go for non-alcoholic. So I'll go to M&S or somewhere and get some non-alcoholic Czech beer. And it's just, it wasn't the actual drinking of the beer for the alcohol.
It's more just the taste.
It was just the taste. Yeah. Just getting that cold beer, one of them down your neck after work. So now it doesn't affect me. You've
got to focus on both. I think if you're eating well, you're training, like, inevitably you're going to feel way, way better, right?
Yeah, you've got to put the right fuel in.
Yeah, you have
to get the right performance out of yourself.
Massively.
And to feel good about yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, and we know that with some of these longer distance stuff, right? Like if you're trying to like do any of these type of higher level endurance events, if you're not eating right, well, it's a disaster.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like disaster, right? Yeah. Last thing. So for anybody that's maybe thinking, you know, it's a little bit late for me to get started on their fitness journey, what would you say to them?
Oh, you're never too late. I love seeing some of the old boys that are doing the triathlons or doing the road races or doing the ultras. And the older you get, the better it gets. You know, you build stamina as you get older and you can tolerate more. You can tolerate more, your pain barrier.
You're probably wiser and have less ego with it as well,
and you
right?
do. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you see some of the young ones flying off and I see some of the older boys who've been doing it like, and they just plod past, same pace, same consistency. And then they just plod past people 10 miles later.
What you mean, like me flying off on the bike on the weekend and getting a puncture?
That's the one.
Right, I think that's everything. Thomas, there you go. I saved it right to the end. Thomas. Thank you for joining. Anything else you want to cover? Are we done?
Boom. I think we're done, Thomas.
We're done. Amazing. Thank you.
Till the next time.
Till the next time.